Welcome to my channel. Subscribe, listen, and enjoy my stories every day. The suitcase sat half-packed on our bed, a silent witness to the chaotic whirlwind of the past 24 hours. Shirts, still on their hangers, lay scattered around it, as if they too had given up on making it to Egypt. I had been looking forward to standing with Lara beside the Sphinx, to exploring the endless sands and ancient pyramids, but instead, I found myself staring at the empty drawer where our tickets should have been. Lara. I called out again, my voice echoing slightly in the spacious, empty hallway of our apartment. No response. The quiet was unnerving. I pulled out my phone, dialed her number, and waited as it rang fruitlessly into the void. I checked the clock. It was nearly midnight. She had been gone since morning, her last words to me over breakfast, "I'll be back soon, just running some last-minute errands." But as hours turned into a day, a sinking feeling settled deep in my stomach. The digital clock on the nightstand switched to 12:01 a.m., mocking me with its indifference. The uneasy silence of our apartment was suddenly broken by the ping of my phone. A message, from Lara. No, it was from Jack, my best friend. "Hey, Matt. Saw Lara at the airport an hour ago. Thought you guys were leaving tomorrow. Something up?" At the airport? A cold sweat formed on my back as I typed out a hasty reply, asking for more details. Jack responded quickly, his words like a punch to the gut. "Yeah, she was with some guy. They looked cozy." "Sorry, man, thought you knew." "Cozy? Some guy." My mind raced, connecting dots I had refused to acknowledge before. The late nights at work, the weekends, with her sisters, the less frequent touches, the evasive kisses. Fueled by a mixture of betrayal and desperation, I drove to the airport. The night was unusually foggy, the lights of the city blurred and distant. Inside, the terminal was buzzing with travelers, oblivious to the drama unfolding in my chest. I approached the information desk, my heart pounding. "Can you tell me if Lara Bennett checked in tonight?" The attendant, a young woman with sympathetic eyes, typed into her computer and frowned. "I'm sorry, sir, but due to privacy policies, I can't disclose." "Please," I interrupted, the panic evident in my voice. "She's my wife, and I think she's leaving me." After a hesitant pause, the woman nodded slightly, typing again. "She checked in for a flight to Cairo. 2 passengers. Left an hour ago." I leaned on the counter, the world tilting around me. Cairo. They were on their way to our dream vacation, a trip meant for us, and she was with someone else. I thanked the attendant and walked out, the numbness setting in. As I drove back home, the city's lights streaked by in a blur. The reality of Lara's betrayal settled heavy on my shoulders. The life I thought we were building together was a lie. I had lost her, but more than that, I had lost the version of myself that trusted her. Back home, I looked around our apartment, our life, everything tainted with the residue of her deceit. The pictures on the wall sneered at me, memories of happier times now twisted into cruel jokes. I sank to the floor, the weight of my grief and rage anchoring me there. But amidst the turmoil, a resolve began to form, hard and sharp as a diamond. Lara had taken something irreplaceable from me, and while I couldn't bring back the past, I could shape the future. I would not let this deceit be the end of my story. Lara would learn that betrayal comes at a cost, and I would be the one to collect. The first rays of dawn crept through the blinds, casting light on the ruins of my trust. But in that new light, I saw a path forward, one where Lara's betrayal was not a blow that knocked me down, but the catalyst that pushed me to rise. And rise I would. The sun's rays, usually a herald of new beginnings, felt mocking as they invaded the living room where I had spent the night brooding, not sleeping. As I dragged myself off the couch, my phone buzzed. It was a text from my sister, Anna, who had always had an uncanny sense about when things were off with me. Coffee? You sound like you need it. A simple yes was all I could muster. Freshening up, I grabbed my keys and left, the echo of the closing door sounding final, as if I was leaving more behind than just an apartment. Anna was already waiting when I arrived at the cafe, a concerned frown knitting her brows as she waved me over. You look awful, she greeted, her tone soft, worried. I feel worse, I admitted, sinking into the chair across from her. As I recounted last night's discoveries, her expression shifted from concern to outrage. That snake, she hissed, her protective instincts flaring. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, I sighed, swirling the coffee I hadn't realized the waiter had brought. But I need to do something. I can't just let this go. Anna reached across the table, her grip firm on my hand. Then we'll figure this out. Together. Her conviction was comforting, yet a plan was far from forming. I needed more than just revenge, I needed closure. And for that, I needed to know why. Why Lara had done this, why she had thrown everything away for a fleeting affair. Later that day, I found myself outside Jack's house. If anyone had insight into Lara's betrayal, it would be him. He had seen her at the airport, after all. Jack opened the door, surprise evident on his face. Matt? What's? No pleasantries today, Jack, I cut in, the bitterness I felt creeping into my voice. I need to know about yesterday. Everything. We sat in his living room, the afternoon light casting long shadows on the floor, mirroring the darkness that had settled in my heart. Jack recounted seeing Lara laughing, her head thrown back in genuine amusement, her hand casually resting on the arm of a man I had never met. And you're sure it was her? I pressed, needing to grasp at any doubt, however small. 100%. I'm sorry, Matt, he said earnestly. I didn't know what to say. I didn't think she'd actually go through with whatever it was. The conversation churned in my mind as I left Jack's place. The image of Lara, happy and carefree, was a stark contrast to the turmoil inside me. It was then I decided I needed more allies, more information. My next visit was to Lara's best friend, Rachel. If Lara had confided in anyone, it would be her. Rachel lived in a quaint house surrounded by gardens, the peaceful setting belying the storm inside me. Rachel, I need your help, I began as soon as she opened the door, my voice urgent. She looked taken aback, her eyes widening slightly. Matt, what's wrong? It's Lara. She left me. For another man, I confessed, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. Rachel's expression softened, and she ushered me inside. I had a feeling something was going on, she admitted as we sat down. She's been different lately. Distracted. I didn't want to believe it. The conversation with Rachel was long and fraught with revelations. Lara had been feeling restless, questioning her life choices, her career, even our marriage. Rachel had tried to counsel her, to suggest therapy or a vacation, but Lara had dismissed all suggestions. As I left Rachel's house, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from an unknown number, but the content sent a shiver down my spine. A picture of Lara and her mystery man, looking intimate and happy, with a simple message, know your enemy. The game was changing, and as the sun set, casting the world into shadows, I felt a resolve hardening within me. Lara's actions had set these events in motion, but I would be the one to finish them. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with streaks of orange and purple, the message on my phone burned into my thoughts. Know your enemy. The unknown sender had piqued my curiosity and ignited a firestorm of questions. Who sent it? How did they know what was happening? Most importantly, why help me? My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I wanted to demand answers but hesitated. Instead, I tapped out a cautious reply, who is this? The response was almost immediate, the blue bubbles of a typing message holding my breath hostage. Someone who hates deceit as much as you do. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th tomorrow at noon. The next day, under a sky heavy with the threat of rain, I drove to the warehouse. The building loomed, an ancient relic of rust and peeling paint, standing defiant against the march of time. A figure emerged from the shadows as I approached, their features obscured by a hood. Matthew? The voice was female, low and cautious. Yes. And you are? Let's just say, I'm someone who's been burned by the same flame. She pulled back her hood, revealing sharp features hardened by resolve. Lara was my friend too, until she wasn't. Was? My curiosity deepened with her cryptic words. She changed, the woman said, her gaze steely. Got involved with some dangerous people. The man she's with now, he's not just a lover. He's trouble. Serious trouble. I processed her words, the implications sending a chill down my spine. What kind of trouble? The kind that doesn't end well. I thought you should know, especially since you seem ready to wage a war. Thank you, I said, my mind racing. But why tell me this? Because no one deserves to be blindsided. And maybe, just maybe, you can stop her before she's in too deep. The conversation left me reeling. As I drove back, the city seemed different, as if every shadow concealed secrets whispering in the wind. I needed more information, and there was only one place left to turn. The next stop was the police station. I needed to know if Lara's new companion had a record, if the woman's warnings held weight. The desk officer, a middle-aged man with a face as worn as his uniform, looked up as I approached. I need information on someone, I began, sliding a photo of Lara and her mysterious lover across the counter. The officer picked up the photo, his eyes narrowing. I can't give out information just like that. Why do you need this? It's personal, I admitted, a mix of frustration and desperation in my voice. But it's important. He might be dangerous. The officer stared at me for a long moment before sighing. Wait here. Minutes stretched into eternity before he returned, his expression grave. I can't give you details, but be careful. That man's known to us, and not for minor stuff. If your wife's with him, she could be in real danger. Armed with this new knowledge, the gears of a plan began to turn in my mind. If Lara was involved with someone dangerous, saving her might be the way to break her, not through revenge, but through redemption. It was a risky path, one that could lead to salvation or ruin for both of us. As I left the police station, the first drops of rain began to fall, the heavens opening as if in anticipation of the storm to come. I knew what I had to do. It was time to confront Lara, to save her from herself and her disastrous choices, even if it meant diving into the heart of the danger that awaited us both. The relentless rain seemed to cleanse the city's grimy facade as I stood outside the hotel where my sources told me Lara and her lover had taken refuge. It was a shabby, inconspicuous place, an odd choice for a woman who had never settled for less than perfection. My heart hammered in my chest, not just from nerves, but from the anger boiling inside me, fueled by the betrayal and the dangerous game Lara had been playing. With a deep breath to steel myself, I pushed through the hotel's fogged glass doors. The lobby was dimly lit, the air thick with the smell of mildew and stale cigarettes. I approached the front desk, my voice steady despite the storm inside. I need the room for Lara Bennett, I stated, slipping a photo of her across the counter. The clerk glanced at the photo, then at me, his face unreadable. Room 204, he said, dropping the key on the counter without another word. His indifference to privacy only confirmed the hotel's lack of standards, but it played in my favor today. I made my way up the narrow, creaking stairs, each step echoing in the empty hallway. Room 204 was at the end, its door slightly ajar. I paused, listening. Laughter filtered through the gap, a sound that once brought joy to my heart now twisted it in pain. I pushed the door open. Inside, Lara and her companion, a tall man with sharp features, were lounging with glasses of wine. Their laughter died as they saw me, replaced by shock and fear. "Matt!" Lara exclaimed, rising from her seat, her face pale. "Save it, Lara," I snapped, my eyes fixed on the man. "I know everything." Lara's lover stood, positioning himself protectively in front of her. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice laced with defiance. "I'm her husband," I shot back, my gaze icy. "And you're the reason my marriage is in shreds." He scoffed, a smirk forming on his lips. "Your marriage was over long before I came along. Lara was just too scared to leave you." "That's a lie," I countered, feeling the room spin with the multitude of emotions clashing inside me. Lara stepped forward, her eyes glistening with tears. "It's not a lie, Matt. I was going to tell you, but you decided running off was easier," I said, the bitterness palpable in my voice. "No, not easier. Necessary," she said, her voice breaking. "Because he's not just my lover. He's my brother." The room seemed to tilt as her words sank in. "Your brother?" I repeated, confusion warring with the remnants of my anger. She nodded, wiping away a tear. "We were separated as kids, adopted by different families. We only found each other a few months ago. I was scared how you'd react." Her explanation hit me like a wave, the implications crashing over me. I had imagined every possible scenario: affairs, deceit, betrayal, but not this. Not a long-lost sibling. My rage faltered, giving way to an overwhelming sense of remorse. Why the secrecy? Why make me think the worst? My voice was a mere whisper, laden with the weight of my misconceptions. "We wanted to surprise you," the man said, stepping closer. "We planned to tell you in Egypt, to show you the research, the DNA tests, everything." Lara took a step toward me. "I never meant to hurt you, Matt. This trip, it was supposed to be a new beginning for us, not an end." I looked between them, the truth slowly displacing the shadows of doubt. I had allowed my fears and insecurities to build a narrative so far from the reality. My heart ached, not just for the loss of the trust one thought we had, but for the pain I had caused in my blindness. I need some time," I murmured, backing toward the door. Lara reached out, her hand brushing mine. "I'll be waiting, Matt. Whenever you're ready to talk, I'll be here." I nodded, stepping out into the hallway, the cool air a stark contrast to the warmth of room 204. As I descended the stairs, the rain outside had stopped, the clouds parting to reveal a sliver of clear sky. Walking away from the hotel, I knew that while the storm in my heart had calmed, the path to rebuilding what Lara and I had, what we could still have, was just beginning. In the end, the true deception was not hers, but the deceit of my own heart, which had almost cost me everything.